In working on our chart, we've been orienting the bars on a horizontal axis. But what if we wanted to orient them so that they're displayed vertically? That is to create what some call a column chart. To do that, we're really talking about flipping the axes so that our ordinal axis on the y currently would be on the x, and our linear axis on the x would be on the y. Now there's an additional complication here, and that is as y values increase, you go down the chart. But if we want the bars to display from low to high, we really want the values to increase as we go up the chart. So here's how we handle the flipping of the axes for our chart. We'll go to the code and we'll look for the declaration of the scales, which is at line 36 through 45. Let's copy those lines and then create new lines for their creation. And we'll paste, and so we have lots of space, and the space here is really for aesthetic purposes, so we can see the new one and the old one. So we're really just flipping the scales. So we'll copy what is the Y scale definition and paste as the X scale definition. And instead of the range bands being from 0 to height, they'll be from 0 to width. And for the Y scale, we'll go to the old X scale, copy it, and paste as the Y scale. And so that's why we kept the old scales present. We could paste into the Y scale. All right, so the Y scale is linear. There's one critical change here. Since we want the values to increase from the bottom of the chart to the top of the chart, we'll really be going from a range that is from height, to 0. And so this will automatically let us draw from bottom to top. All right, let's delete what we have here. And now we have the new scales in place. And it's not just this easy. We still need to go into the plot function that we created, and we need to change a few things. So let's head into the part of the code that draws the bars. And now for the X position, the bars are no longer just oriented at the left. Instead, they're spread out along the bottom. So we need to create a function to spread them out. So function, open and close parentheses, d, I for our arguments, and open and close curly braces. What we'll do here is we'll return the data, but we'll feed the data into the new X scaling function. Before moving on, we need to specify the property that we'll be using as part of the data. Because remember, the data is an object, so d.key. Now we'll edit the y value. Instead of using the key property, it'll use the value property. For the height, we need to draw this differently. So let's delete the current return statement for the height and type return the height of the chart minus the y scale that is fed the value d.value. We have to do this because remember, we're dealing with y values that naturally will increase as they go down, but we're flipping that. So in order to determine how high, we need to take the offset, which is the height of the chart minus the calculated y value. Now we need to adjust the width, and to do that, let's get rid of the return statement for width and type return x.rangeband, and that's singular. Remember that the range band method of an ordinal scale will return the width of one range band. We need to edit the text because it also relies on the X and Y scales. So we'll scroll down to the bar label portion of this function and let's fix the X value. So here at line 87, let's just blank this function out and type a new one. Function, open and close parentheses and curly brackets, and then D and I for our arguments. Now we'll return X, open and close parentheses. We'll feed the key, d.key, because X is an ordinal scale. And we'll add to that half the width of a band, x.rangeband, open and close parentheses, divided by 2. Now, we'll get rid of the x offset, set it to 0, and within the y function, we need to return the value instead of the key, so value fed into the y scale. And for the adjustment on the y-axis, that's just going to be -6. Save it. Let's head to the chart, see if we have any errors, refresh. Okay, now we see that the chart has adjusted, it has flipped, and the bars are being drawn vertically. You can see very faintly the text, I'll highlight a number, and it's still white, and also it's oriented to the left. So we need to change the CSS for the text. Head back to the code, let's take a look at main.css. Each of the text labels is bar label, and so we don't want their fill to be white, instead we want it to be black, #000. And the text anchor is set at the end because when we were drawing it horizontally, we were drawing it within the bar. Now that we're drawing it vertically, we want it to be centered on a bar. So that would be text anchor middle. Save it, head back to the code and refresh. And now we can see that the text is perfectly centered with the bar, and our bars are distributed nicely horizontally. Let's do a little bit more adjustment. So we'll head back to the code and we'll adjust the margins some. So at index.html, let's change the top margin to be 40, the left to be 60, and the right to be 40. Save it and go to the page, refresh, and that's looking a little bit nicer. So you can orient your chart either way you want. You can orient it vertically to create a column chart like we have here, or you can orient it horizontally to create a bar chart like we had before. Either way, know that it's easy to do with the D3 library.